Dragons and Dungeons, a match made in comic book heaven? The early 1980s were a time of immense creativity for TSR, the company behind Dungeons and Dragons. Flush with the success of D&D, TSR aimed to conquer the world of comic books. They saw a natural synergy between the two mediums, both thriving on imagination and adventure. TSR executives believed that a comic book line would attract new players to the D&D world. They envisioned vibrant panels filled with iconic monsters and brave adventurers. This move aligned with their broader strategy of multimedia expansion, including novels and cartoons. The comic book venture was also seen as a way to further flesh out the D&D universe. Little did they know, however, the path to comic book glory would be fraught with challenges and unexpected turns. Enter the DC Universe, a partnership forged. In 1988, TSR partnered with DC Comics to publish their first foray into the world of sequential art. This strategic alliance brought together two powerhouses, each with their own strengths. DC provided the experience of a seasoned comic book publisher, while TSR brought the rich lore of Dungeons and Dragons. The collaboration resulted in several successful titles, particularly Dragonlance and Forgotten Realms comics. The artwork, often handled by talented artists, brought the familiar settings and monsters to life. The DC partnership also allowed TSR to tap into a wider audience. Comic book readers unfamiliar with D&D were introduced to its world through these engaging stories. However, this harmonious collaboration wouldn't last, as creative differences and licensing disputes loomed on the horizon. The buck stops here, a rift in the partnership. Despite the initial success, tensions arose between TSR and DC Comics. The heart of the conflict lay in the licensing rights for Buck Rogers, a classic science fiction hero. TSR had acquired the rights to Buck Rogers and planned a comic book series. However, DC Comics also had a long history with the character, creating a complex web of rights and ownership. The disagreements over Buck Rogers escalated, leading to a breakdown in the relationship between TSR and DC. The partnership dissolved in a cloud of frustration and missed opportunities. Section 4, Going Solo: The Rise and Fall of Comic Modules. After parting ways with DC, TSR decided to go solo, establishing TSR West as their dedicated comic book publishing arm. Jeff Grubb, a key figure in the D&D world, was tapped to lead this new venture. Their flagship concept was the comic module, oversized comic books combining storytelling with D&D gameplay. Each issue included a complete comic book adventure, along with game statistics, maps, and cardboard cutouts. The idea was to bridge the gap between comic books and role-playing games. However, the comic modules were deemed too expensive and unwieldy, and the format failed to attract a significant audience. After a short run, TSR West ceased operations. Section 5, The Aftermath. A missed opportunity? The failure of TSR West's comic book venture was a significant setback. It represented a missed opportunity to capitalize on the growing popularity of comic books. Some argue that TSR's decision to go solo after the DC split was a mistake. Partnering with an established publisher provided valuable experience and resources. The fallout from the comic book venture had a lasting impact on TSR, contributing to a growing perception of mismanagement. The financial losses further strained TSR's resources, diverting funds from other projects. Section 6, What If? A World of Shared Universes. Looking back, the story of TSR's comic book venture is a cautionary tale of ambition and missed opportunities. It's tempting to imagine what might have been if TSR had made different choices. What if they had resolved their differences with DC and continued their partnership? Perhaps, in an alternate timeline, TSR became a major player in the comic book world. The potential was there, but ultimately, it remained unrealized. While TSR's comic book dreams went unfulfilled, their brief foray left behind a legacy of what might have been, a tantalizing glimpse into a universe where dragons and dungeons soared on four-color pages.